No, but I've got it. I've got the script.
Did you listen to the one you already did though? Because it sounded awesome when I was blasted.
No.
I was like, yeah, it's fucking perfect, and then I hated everything else.
Welcome to Odd Reality Radio. I'm Ty West.
And I'm Joshua Ray.
Odd Reality Radio is a show designed to generate thought-through entertainment. We'd like to connect with other like-minded individuals that are not satisfied with the reality that we've been programmed to believe exists. Our goal is to engage in a conversation that may spark an independent thought. On today's show, we dive deep into the oceans within the Earth. We also recap a little bit on last week's story within the Antarctic, and we wrap it up on a higher plane with a little help with entheogens. So grab a glass of orange juice and take a trip with us on Odd Reality Radio. Let's get started with this story of an ocean inside of the planet Earth. Deep within the Earth's rocky mantle lies oceans worth of water locked up in a type of mineral called ringwoodite, new research shows.
So, water, oceans worth?
Oceans worth.
And it's in ringwoodite. Is this something that we're familiar with? Is ringwoodite a
Well,
normal?
Ringwoodite is a rare type of mineral that forms from ovaline under very high pressures and temperatures, such as those present in the mantle's transition zone within the Earth. If you're familiar with the
Not particularly, no.
So the Earth's mantle is the hot rocky layer between the planet's core and crust. And scientists have long suspected that the mantle's so-called transition zone, which sits between the upper and lower mantle layers, 225 to 410 miles below the Earth's surface, it could contain water trapped in rare minerals called ringwoodite.
What is ringwoodite? I thought we talked about it. Sorry, I'm super simple and I don't remember these kind of things.
No, we did
no
discuss it for a second, but I know. Yeah, it's all sciencey, dude. You're not into it unless there's
to figure out.
Unless there's, human hands at play. Well, dude, there's some human hands here. Let's see what they've acquired. So, ringwoodite is a rare type of mineral that forms from ovaline under high pressures and temperatures, such as those present in the mantle's transition zone that we just talked about. Laboratory studies have shown that the mineral can contain water which isn't present as liquid, ice, or vapor. Instead, it's trapped in the ringwoodite's molecular structure as hydroxide ions, which are bonded oxygens and hydrogen atoms.
That's weird. It's like cactus.
But yeah, go squeeze the ringwoodite
under
and wring it out for water, dude.
In the earth cactus, can they hold more water inside themselves than they actually show? Wouldn't that be crazy? They hold like twice the amount of water than the mass that they take up. So they have more ocean water but take up less space. That would be crazy.
Interesting because
I wonder if that's true.
I believe that we could find out through the study published by the seismologist Brandon Schmant of the University of New Mexico. He published this study on June 12th in the journal Science. He says, if we're seeing this melting, then there has to be this water in the transition zone. And the transition zone can hold a lot of water and could potentially have the same amount of water as the world's oceans. So if you were to say, with your theory of these, ringwoodites being, little cactuses, so to speak, little reserves of water, if we were able to wring those out and make even more water, if they're just some sort of little molecular sponge, so to speak, that would be insane, because who's to say that it wouldn't be triple the mass of our oceans within the Earth? You know what I mean?
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, to think about it, would make sense that it would hold probably less than its size. But I just wanted to add an entertaining twist to the idea.
Well, speaking of entertaining twists, dude, I thought that it would be interesting for us to kind of touch base on something somewhat related in last week's stories. We mentioned the Piri-Reis map and how that, significantly
changes the way that we view
absolutely
land masses and continents and where they're located and sizes and
absolutely
things of that nature, I guess. But
there was another map though that you mentioned that we should have referenced, and what was the name of this map? It was the
No, it was the Peters projection map.
Okay, that's right.
And basically, I heard of it from West Wing. Actually, it was YouTube. I don't know how. I'm just Googling something or searching something, find a video, and then you find something related to the related to or the related to.
That
and
spider web or rabbit hole.
What the heck is that? No, it's just YouTube. You know how when you click on it and then it shows like related to.
Okay.
And then related to, and it basically ended up with this thing, and it was like, oh, it's on West Wing. I've never even watched that show, to be honest. It's some kind of political
It's okay if you have.
show. Honestly, I don't, or never have. I didn't even know it existed until I seen this video. But so then it was these guys basically telling some detectives or something, I don't know who they are, some politicians or whatever, about this map, and it's basically a map that they say shows, or Peters says that it's the accurate scale of the continents and all these land masses. It's not manipulated.
So basically the size of the continents is more defined or more accurately depicted than the one that we have been taught to believe.
Yeah, and it goes on to show that basing it on size alone and the bigger is better theory.
When the hell did they find this map?
I don't know when it was. I don't know if it was found or drawn or it was just this guy.
What was that?
Arno Peters created this map based on landmass. I don't know what kind of steps he took to come up with the map.
Well, he was a historian and a cartographer, so he was the right guy for the job.
Do you know what a cartographer is?
Essentially, a cartographer is somebody who is a map maker. Somebody who would.
So that's what he did for a living.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, well that lends some credibility to his map making skills.
Absolutely, and a historian too. So he's got, some more credibility on his resume.
But the reason that it's interesting is why are the continents and everything so vastly
distorted?
Distorted, yeah, and the sizing just obviously distorted. Why is that?
So basically, the Peters projection map was written by a historian and cartographer named Dr. Peters, right? And at a press conference in Germany in 1974, it generated a firestorm of debate, and the first English version of the map was actually published in 1983, and it continues to have passionate fans as well as the staunch detractors, which is not surprising because this is something that, again, I feel like we should all have access to it. Is this one of those the world is flat, no it's round situations?
I think it is. I really do. I think it is one of those world is flat, world is round. But at the same time, nobody's trying to teach us except for maybe this Peters, Dr. Peters. I don't see it being pushed very far, and it's a curiosity as to why they are displayed inaccurately on these maps when in 74, this guy says, hey, this is the accurate size of each continent.
Being a cartographer, that lends credibility to the plausibility of what he's saying. The size of these continents really and legitimately
So the big question is why is it not being taught? Why is it not being taught? Why are we still there was a thing that I seen that showed that America was like, there was a certain part of America that was the center of, was it
the equator?
The equator. It was like right on the equator, and that means like we would be having all kinds of crazy weather in these certain parts of our country, but they're not even located in that area. It's like the maps are just wrong. So
not at all. We're not even close.
I think a big part of it is just to keep us uninformed of where we live and who we are and what we are, and it's just all that maze and mindfuck of distraction and misunderstanding.
Absolutely.
And so we just go about our regular beaten paths and don't question and just go with the flow.
And not only that, it could play into the mind fucking of those other continents if they have access, or if they're forced to be reading the same fucking bullshit maps or the bullshit sizes of maps, and they're believing exactly that there's a lack of capability within their country because it's an inferior size, or at least you have the misrepresentation of the
bigger
size.
Is better complex kind of
Absolutely.
idea, and whether you believe that or not, or you subconsciously, it's just kind of there. And I think that's something that, say this person did design this map and had an understanding of that nature of people, and thinking that bigger is better and more important, or smaller is insignificant and not important. So you design a map in that fashion.
And it just plays right into that mentality.
That mindset.
Absolutely. Well, that's interesting, man. That's a bit of a mindfuck.
It is a mindfuck, that's for sure.
And now, we found, speaking of mindfucks, a rather interesting video on what appears to be just a guy on what? What would you say? I'm saying probably mushrooms.
Well, isn't the description of the video he's a mental patient?
That's the thing. Is
it true or no?
I don't think so. Come on,
he's just a dude. Like, yeah, he looks like he's just a homeless dude, kind of.
He does, but if anything, he looks like what some people call granola. He's got a beard, long hair, and no shirt.
For sure, that's more like what he looks like.
So I don't really buy that he's homeless or even insane. But the video is titled "Inspiring Advice from a Mentally Insane Person." You can look it up on YouTube. The thing that I wanted to point out is this guy's actually got some decent advice within some really hilarious. I don't know.
It's entertaining and inspiring.
It is all at
once.
Yeah. It really is, and whoever edited the video did a damn fine job,
the
because they nailed it with that music.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna add a link to this video on the website and in the show notes. So definitely click the link, check out the video for yourself. Don't just take our descriptions for being the end of how great this thing is. This guy actually does, like I said, he has some killer lines, like the line at the end. I think that's one that is rather relevant too. What is it that he says? It's life is a mirror of confusion.
No, it's a paradox.
A paradox.
A mirror of confusion.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the guy's theatrical as hell.
It's
He's
beautiful.
loving it. It is. It is inspiring if you're willing to,
It's so entertaining, but at the same time, it's a beautiful message and a hilarious way to deliver it. And
absolutely, but the thing I wanted to make sure that people understand is he's not mentally insane, in my opinion. It sounds like he may be on, what we're going to discuss today in the body of the show, entheogens.
is it? Entheogen?
Entheogens.
Okay.
And an entheogen is a chemical substance typically of plant origin that is ingested to produce a non-ordinary state of consciousness for religious or spiritual purposes. It comes from a Greek term ethos, which means, God within, and the direct Greek translation I like the most. It's becoming divine within. And
that is pretty cool.
A form of an entheogen that, most commonly people would be familiar with is psilocybin. And you know what psilocybin is, right?
Yeah, the mushroom.
Absolutely. Now, an interesting fact about psilocybin. Psilocybin is a naturally occurring psychedelic compound produced by more than 200 species of mushrooms.
200?
Did you know that?
No. For real?
Yes. It's not just one. I assumed that it was just one special kind of mushroom that was prepared one special kind of way that grew under cow shit.
Yeah.
Now, in the research of this, I come to find out that there's more than 200 species. So there's 200 plus species of mushrooms that generate psilocybin.
So basically, if you are a God guy, I would have to say God wants you to eat mushrooms. He put a lot of them here, and a lot of them change your consciousness temporarily.
Not only did he put mushrooms here in the form of psilocybin, or the entheogen psilocybin in the form of mushrooms here, but he also, for us in the desert, put peyote. And peyote is a little cactus, a little button that grows.
Why would he do that, man?
In the desert.
Why would he put these tempting drugs, these evil drugs? The word drug guts to go.
I think so.
Guts to go.
The word drug
the word drug needs to be changed. It needs to be replaced with something different because it's too vague.
That's why we're going to inform everybody of entheogens. Because it's not a drug. These aren't drugs. These are natural substances. Like we said, they're natural things that just, when ingested, they can produce the non-ordinary state of consciousness. And, being somebody that is as open-minded as they are now, I feel like the world deserves to explore these options. I don't know why we would have certain things, shied away or
I don't know.
Bastardized.
Deserves to. I think deserves to have the option to. I think that's the most important thing. To me, that's what I want. I don't want a babysitter anymore.
No.
I think that I should have the choice to put whatever I want in my body.
Absolutely. I think that everybody should. We have the free will to decide whether or not to pay our taxes, but most of us do because of that big brother fear.
I wonder what the thinking is behind it, though. Like, you can't do these drugs because they're bad for you. Because if that's the case,
it's not that they're bad for us. No, that's just what they're promoting. That's just the media side.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So if they're bad for you, in what way? Is it bad for society? Or is it bad for just that person in particular? Say, okay, this guy's just going to lose his mind. He's not going to have a job. He's going to struggle. He's going to end up being homeless. So that's what it's all about. It's bad in that way.
It's bad for their programming.
Is it bad like if it's unhealthy and this person's going to die because they're doing this unhealthy drug, right? And so we're telling society, we don't want you to do that because we want you to be healthy and productive members of society,
right?
And have full capability and function and all that stuff. But at the same time, we allow people to eat garbage food, ridiculous amounts of it, and it's all bad for you. And it slows you down. It fucks your body up big time. Fucks your head up because you're eating crazy drugs and preservatives and things that are unnatural for you.
Well,
but we're told that that's good and okay. And alcohol, tobacco, and all these other things that fucking legal. Kill you and make you stupid and alcohol or whatever.
Absolutely.
Sorry if I enjoy alcohol and I get stupid on it. So anyhow,
I do too. I enjoy.
So how is it justifiable that those types of things can be considered bad when other things that kill you and do just as much damage are considered okay and within the limits of what you can ingest or consume?
I think that's an awesome question that everybody needs to be asking themselves and people around them. I think that it's something that we need to, thoroughly look into because, one, we can learn so much from certain experiences, and entheogens can lead to these experiences, or they can enhance these experiences, and they can, for example, like we mentioned, peyote, and the concentrated form of that, the medicinal form, is mescaline, which it's derived from the cactus Lophophora williamsi, which is a small spineless cactus with the psychoactive alkaloids, particularly mescaline, and it's used in the spiritual ceremonies for over 5,500 years, dude.
And it's only legal to the people who have used it as a religious ceremony of sorts, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, whatever they want to label it, but they allow that to continue because of the tradition and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Doesn't that seem kind of strange where we have different rules for different people?
Well, absolutely.
So if they use it for a religious purpose, and I hate the word religious, but it just seems to suit it.
It does.
Why is it not allowed for other people to try to experience something that is considered to be only allowed to be used in a religious purpose?
That's an interesting question. Now, in other parts of the world, there are actual churches, the churches of ayahuasca, or groups of people that...
But I understand that, and it's legal, and people can go and do what they want with themselves. And the question is what's the fear? What's the scare? Why are they afraid of allowing us to kind of experiment a little bit? I mean, realistically, what the fuck are we here for? If you think you're here to lay bricks or to pave roads or to just do a 9-to-5, yeah, I do 9-to-5s too, and they suck. Yeah. I don't think that's what I'm here for. No. And I think there's a different purpose. I think I'm supposed to experience a lot more on this in this experience, and I think that that's part of it. To take away parts of nature and say that they're taboo and you can't touch them or that you're going to go to jail makes me think there's something to that. And if you maybe partake of those entheogens, you might start to see some truth and some real reality, some honest truth.
Absolutely. Within yourself. You might learn something within your character.
Or see the Matrix as it is, for what it is. And see through the lies so much more easily because it just becomes that more clear.
You just answered your previous question.
I understand that. I knew the answer before I answered. I mean, but that's the question, because is that what they're afraid of? I'm not saying that I've found this magic spot where I took this drug and now I see all the lies, and I get duped by all kinds of shit,
Yeah.
But it does open your mind to these other possibilities. Maybe that's what it is that you don't just say, okay, they told me that's what it is.
Absolutely.
And that's all that there is. No, maybe there's something else. Maybe it teaches you to question things and see if that's really what it is. And that's what they're afraid of. Maybe they're afraid of you questioning these things and finding the truth, and then they have to basically answer for that.
Absolutely. They would have to answer for it because it does unlock potentials within ourselves. And I think that it promotes our individuality, and it promotes...
See, I don't like the idea of promoting it. Like, it makes you better, and you're like so much awesomer, and you're like smarter and cooler, but if you feel like that's something that you want to take on, that adventure and journey, do it because you want to do it and not because it's not going to make you better. It's not going to make you smarter. You're not going to see everything the way it is unless you really want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Intentions play a great amount in this whole concoction, in the entire amount of chemistry. The intentions do set a lot of the tone, and I think that is one thing that you've got to educate yourselves on the potentials of these things. We've got, like we've mentioned, we talked a little bit about psilocybin and peyote and the things and the effects that those can do, but there's tons of different things that we can discuss. There's ayahuasca, like I mentioned just a little bit earlier. it's commonly called the yage or ayahuasca, and it's a psychedelic brew of various plant infusions used for divinatory or spiritual healing purposes in most commonly Peru. And another thing that is good for or another thing down in Peru that they use quite a bit is ibogaine, and that's another naturally occurring psychoactive substance found in plants in the Apocynean family.
I've heard about ibogaine. I think it was from the Joe Rogan show. Actually, I laugh, but I love his show. I heard, basically because I'm an alcoholic, and I heard that people have used it, and it helps to just alleviate all that urge to drink. And since then, I basically Googled it, and you can get it. There's clinics and stuff, right? Ibogaine clinics. And
what's interesting is a lot of these entheogens are still legal within the United States, or at least within certain states. I mean, ayahuasca is legal here in Utah.
Shut up.
I'm not kidding. Another form of an entheogen that a lot of people have heard of and or read about is DMT. Dimethyltryptamine.
Yes.
And dimethyltryptamine is another psychedelic compound of the tryptamine family. And since DMT actually resembles the basic structure of neurotransmitters, when ingested, DMT is able to cross the human blood-brain barrier, allowing it to act as a powerful hallucinogenic drug that can dramatically affect human consciousness. That's something that blows my mind. The fact that it's something that it breaks through the human blood-brain barrier to generate this altered consciousness.
The concoction itself, because the individual drug that makes you hallucinate or...
Well, and DMT is found in ayahuasca, like I was saying, and it's found in certain things, the ibogaine. It's found in all these compounds. It's the thing that generates that spirit connection, that connection with Mother Ayahuasca in that case.
So it's the common denominator between all of these entheogens, or not all of them?
Not all of them necessarily, because there are other psychoactive substances that aren't necessarily DMT, but
I guess
they react in similar ways. I've heard. I've never experienced DMT or anything of that family.
Yeah.
But
you haven't done
as
mushrooms?
Far as psilocybin, I have experienced, but I don't believe that psilocybin is necessarily a dimethyltryptamine. I mean, it could be a cousin or something, but I haven't done that research myself well enough yet. But I do definitely have a curiosity, man. I would be one that would subscribe to getting our asses down to Peru for an ayahuasca experience with the shaman, or an ibogaine experience with the ibogaine hospitals they have down there.
That is kind of the key to the ayahuasca trip, is having the shaman or shaman, however that's pronounced.
Right.
Because I guess if it's legal here, that's wonderful, but if you don't have the right guide,
right,
it's kind of pointless.
That's a very important point, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with what a shaman is, it is essentially, a healer of the soul. And oftentimes the shaman use entheogens to achieve that divine, inspirational, and sometimes, in order to diagnose certain things for the people that are sick they may have a physical or a spiritual or even an emotional sickness that they can cure with this specific enhancement, this entheogen-influenced, consciousness state that gathers or allows them to gather better information on themselves or their patient, so to speak. And, another interesting fact about shamanism is it's basically, when I was doing research on it, it's the primordial religion. And I believe that one of the reasons that it's so laughed at right now is because it's not only the primordial religion, but it's the one that doesn't follow all the structures of modern religions. It doesn't have that. It explores a more, obviously the entheogens
holistic
is a big
style of
more herbs, more,
Mother Nature kind of
yes,
religion, if you will.
The circle of life, not to sound, hippie or skippy, but that's exactly the, the mindset of it. And I think that that's something that...
Well, it seems to make more sense more and more. All these things that come out and they supposedly or they actually do heal, all different types of things that come out of the rainforest. These acai berries, or they have like super antioxidants, and like all these things that everybody's worried about, and you can eliminate 90% of all those things that you're worried about that cause fat and discomfort, and just by eliminating all the foods that you couldn't buy 100 years ago.
Absolutely.
Well,
I think that we should, again, share the information.
So what does that say? What does that say? Does that say that Western style of thinking, that science in medicine and science in food is a good way of doing things? It seems like other countries are, every time we come up with a good idea, like, oh, let's fluoridate the water, other countries kind of follow suit, and then they say, you know what? We're going to do our own studies on this. Oh, wait, something's kind of fishy here. Never mind. We're not going to do that anymore. Or GMOs, China just shutting them down, or just the whole gauntlet of ridiculous stuff that we think we're wise and smart, when these guys are just old school savages with their fruits and berries and trying to live that way. I mean, are you serious?
I think a
Hamburger Helper and fucking Hungry Man is a better choice than fish and berries. Give me a fucking break, America.
Amen to that, dude. I agree. I completely and totally agree. That's a wonderful point. And another thing that within these entheogens that could benefit us, that I believe that society would, or at least the modern culture, American culture, I'll say more specifically, wants to suppress, would be that creative thinking, would be that the possibility of the epigenetics working within your mind taking over. You've heard of the term hypochondriac, right?
Yes.
And a hypochondriac is essentially somebody who destroys themselves from within, even though there's nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just a mental disorder, even though there's nothing physically wrong.
Yeah, WebMD diagnosis.
Right.
And then run with it.
Yep, exactly. Or just, overreact, essentially.
Yeah, well, when you start owning stuff.
Epigenetics are, in my interpretation originally of the word, it was, the body and mind's ability to flip these switches on and off, and it basically was that counteragent to, that mindset of, I'm going to be sick all the time. I'm going to be, that self-destructive mindset. I understood epigenetics as kind of those positive switches, and through learning that, I think that the entheogens could possibly be an enhancement to that. I think that they could allow us a closer tie to our bodies, to our stomachs, because, like you said, that more primitive way, those guys just rolling around in the jungle, mm-hmm. They're the ones that are using their guts,
exactly,
and they're the ones that are keeping their asses out of trouble, where we're just relying on technology anymore up here in giant America, because of the map that we have.
We're losing touch with who we really are, and with where we're from, and what we are. It's like we talked about last time. I couldn't go in the jungle for 7 days. I need a generator. I need a microwave. I need popcorn. I couldn't do it. I'm so accustomed to these. But going back to epigenetics and how the mind and body's ability to either cause harm to itself by thinking patterns, or constantly thinking negative ways, right? Or I have cancer, I have cancer, I have cancer, I have cancer, I have cancer,
and eventually,
pretty much you
think it into yourself,
willing cancer to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then, so you have the opposite effect, obviously. So when people have cancer, they find out they have cancer, and then they see the new age kind of way of dealing with that, with positive thinking and eliminate stress whatsoever, because it's been proven that stress is a major factor in health, right?
Absolutely.
So what do we do as Americans? What is our society ran by? It's like stress is the number one thing that you're always stressing out. I got to get to work on time. I got to get gas in my car. I got to pay my gas bill. I got to pay my water bill. I got to pay this bill. Absolutely. And they constantly overwhelm you with stress. And sure, if you're financially sound, I guess, if you want to put it that way, it's not so much of a stress. So but it sounds to me in epigenetics, in the concept itself, if that's 100% accurate, then you would have a higher rate of disease or just death, I guess, from natural causes, failures of human bodies in poverty-stricken areas.
To flush out epigenetics a little bit more and give a little bit fuller definition, because the earlier interpretation was just my interpretation based on an interview that I heard on a podcast by Amber Lyon, who was a journalist with CNN who did some work that basically got her in trouble, and she just ran with it anyway because she decided that Americans, or the population of the globe, needed to know all this stuff going on in Bahrain. And she basically, was a whistleblower from CNN originally, and now she's covering epigenetics, entheogens. She runs a website called Reset Me and a podcast called Reset with Amber Lyon, and that's where I basically learned a lot about this epigenetics. That's what got me onto the epigenetics, and I looked up a fuller description of the term, and in biology, and specifically genetics, epigenetics is the study of heritable changes in the gene activity that are not caused by changes in the DNA sequence. So that basically means that this is stuff that is ingrained from great, 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 great grandparents and civilizations from, our ancient past. And the possibility of even those stresses and those cataclysmic events from those pasts, that possibly could be part of our stresses and part of our problems nowadays. And that's why history repeats itself, is because we're basically just living echoes from the past, and that's something that again is it's a little bit of more in my interpretation, but
it's an interesting theory. Like, it's basically the DNA carries memory.
Yes,
and so then, because there's a theory that's how birds navigate, is through DNA,
right?
Memory.
And I believe that would be epigenetics.
Also, there's the magnetic. Maybe they have a compass built in. And
that's true.
There's other theories, but it's possible that it's epigenetics and that they just have a built-in memory through DNA of what their natural cycle of life is, just from being done so much. But where do we lose ours? Or is that the thing that we're all looking for when we have these critical thinkers or people that are just on these journeys to find out and just questioning everything? What is it that you're questioning? Are you trying to get back to that original circle of life and that natural way of living on this planet and the way that we probably are supposed to exist here? Is that what makes you question things? Because it always feels unnatural to me. Like, sure, I get set in my ways and do my 9 to 5, pay my bills and taxes and everything, but I always feel like there's just something's not quite right, and
it's not
feel natural,
does it?
It
really doesn't.
I think that's the big part that led me on my my questioning. That's the big part that led me on my questioning of everything. Maybe it was to try to find what it is and why everything feels so unnatural, because that's the way it feels to me. If that's the way it feels to you, let me know. If not, tell me so also.
Well, and if you want to let us know, do it through oddrealityradio@gmail.com. You can also hit us up on Twitter @oddrealityradio. You can continue to find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spreaker Web Radio. And I think that this was a wonderful conversation about the potentials. And I think that that's something that we need to leave, this specific conversation with, is people need to understand the potential beneficial possibilities of these things. And while they're still legal, because like I said, like ayahuasca is still, it is legal here. I mean, you can get it. You can get a lot of this stuff on the internet and sent to your house. But again, you've got to do the research first. Don't just go jumping into trying to get lit because you want to, spice up a Friday or Saturday night. That's not what I'm trying to encourage here. I'm just trying to teach people about the possibilities of, opening up their minds. If they're
mind-altering
like you,
substances that allow you to question things more clearly.
And to see things through a different consciousness, an expanded consciousness. And the thing is like, I like the way that you put it. We've got to question the status quo, because it is not what we were made to be doing. I don't think 9-5 is what we were sent here to be doing. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we got linked up and why we continue to want to share these types of things, is because, it's not, that's not sufficient for me. 9 to 5, to hell with that.
I had a Beamer once. I thought that brought happiness. I don't have a Beamer anymore. I own a 93 Acura Integra. I don't have a car note. You know what? I'm so much more happier that way. You can't buy these things. You try to make yourself feel happy. And why are we always trying to chase happiness through products and through material things?
Absolutely.
It's because we're chasing something, a truth that we don't know, and that we don't even know what we're looking for.
Someone else's dream?
Someone else's dream? Why not?
Well, I think that's a good way to end the show. And I want you to remember to continue to investigate life through the lens of possibility.
I agree.
Well, on that note, I'm Ty West.
Joshua Ray.
Take care.
Peace.